Financial Argument. Follow us on YouTube.
Hey everyone, this is Elijah Johnson with FinanceAndLiberty.com, and with us today is Will Lair from Perpetual Assets. Will, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Elijah.
All right, well, I'd first like to discuss a little bit about the war on cash we've been seeing. We were talking before the interview that you're saying that we're really seeing a war on cash and really a war on money, and the government is just trying to control people's finances. Can you discuss about this?
Yeah, we've all heard of the war on cash, right? The war on cash. We're seeing the system slowly move away from cash. A preference towards credit cards and credit type transactions. Specifically, a war on cash we've seen in deposit accounts, right? Savers. It started with inflation as the hidden tax. But now we're seeing negative interest rates and zero interest rates where savers who are saving in cash are actually being penalized. So the war on cash exists in many fronts, and as you and I were discussing earlier, I really think it's an all-out war on capital. It's a war on money. It's an interest to control people's money and to take their control away. And it's scary times. I mean, we're seeing downright oppressive, tyrannical type of laws slowly be ushered in, and we're seeing people start to break away. People are starting to wake up and understand, hey, this is not an interest to protect me. This is an interest to control my money. And people are starting to go towards tangible assets. People are starting to figure out and question how to get their money out of the system with little penalty or with little taxes or with little red flag, and how to get it into tangible assets. We're seeing a lot of people go into the physical precious metals. For that reason, gold and silver.
Definitely, and some people who have their money tied up in IRAs or old 401ks, they might want to move into precious metals, but they don't want to, take the hit and have to pay taxes or penalties. Now, you've said that you have a solution where people can actually take home delivery of gold and silver from an IRA or old 401k with no taxes and penalties. How is this possible?
Yeah, that's right, Elijah. It is a type of self-directed IRA. Whereby, we assist in the setup of the account and the transference of the funds. It could be IRA monies. It could be an old 401k. Sometimes we do have clients with current 401ks. If they're able to roll the assets out, the money out, they'll set one of these up. But it's a type of self-directed IRA whereby the self-directed IRA, your IRA account, instead of purchasing a piece of real estate or a basket of mutual funds, it's going to invest in or purchase a newly formed limited liability company that we file typically in the client's state of residence. And it's a simple entity. Excuse me. It's structured so that the individual, the client, and or his or her spouse are the managers or manager of the entity, of the LLC, of this company. But the IRA account, Mr. Smith's IRA account, is the owner, the sole owner of this company. It serves as an investment holding company that the individual can manage. And at that point, one of the last steps is the individual, we help him or her open a bank account with their local bank or credit union in the name of this company, Elijah's Investments, LLC. That's where that bank account is where your IRA money will go. And from there, you are in the driver's seat. You manage the investments, and you can invest in just about anything imaginable, including precious metals. Now, within the tax code, there is an exemption to a specific coin, U.S. Eagles, gold and silver Eagles, regarding storage. They can be owned by an IRA, just like other bullion, like bars and coins and other products. But the Eagles specifically have a whole different subsection that references their ownership as coins within the IRA, and they don't have the third-party trustee storage requirement. So long story short, yes, Elijah, you can roll over an old IRA or an IRA or an old 401k into this type of IRA LLC, and you can purchase gold or silver eagles on behalf of the LLC with your IRA money, and you can store them wherever you want. That could be in your backyard in a hole in the ground. It could be under your mattress. It could be in a private bank vault somewhere. It could be offshore in Singapore at a vault, really anywhere imaginable. So yeah, that's the basis of it. It's a little known. The IRA LLC structure has been around for decades and upheld, and it's very sound. But the use of the IRA LLC to purchase these specific coins and then store them on behalf of it is a little known concept. 4 or 5 years ago when we started, we made pretty big splashes in the precious metals industry with this news. Hey, you can do this. And it's been a really, successful run since then. But yeah, for those of us that have money locked up in an IRA or 401k and are tuning into your news, tuning into the type of news that you promote, we're concerned, right? And we want to get our money out of the system. And this is a great way to do it without taking the hit, the taxes and the penalties. If you're under 59 and a half, you can get the money out and get it protected. So anyway, that's sort of the in and out of it.
So in your opinion, what are some of the greatest risks currently for IRA accounts? Do you think like bail-ins are a possibility? And I know we were also talking before the interview about how there's rule changes for money market funds, and now by law they have to be held in U.S. Treasuries. Did you want to discuss a little bit about this? How there are the risks for IRA accounts and also these changing rules in money market funds.
Yeah, great question. This is basically a quiet, slow bail-in taking place right in front of us. The money market changes. Yeah, the greatest risks to IRA accounts. I mean, it is money that is partially owned by the IRS because it has not been, we have not paid taxes on those assets yet. So because of that, there's a pretty strong clamp on those funds. And the biggest risks are the changing of laws, changing of rules, changing of tax rates. Who knows what's going to change in the next crisis? There's something like $14 trillion in IRAs and 401ks in that space. $14 trillion. It's a pretty huge amount of money. That is no doubt. It has a bullseye on it. It's already being bailed in, as you mentioned, with this new money market fund. So the biggest risks are people, not being able to control that money, not being able to access that money, or even control the investments. I have a lot of clients that just, when they come to us, they feel like they're stuck. Okay, I've got these mutual funds with my 401k, and that's all I can invest in, and I'm stuck. Or I have this, IRA with Fidelity, and I'm limited to individual stocks or mutual funds, but I want tangible property. I want to invest in some real estate, or I want to invest in gold. So the greatest risks are because of people being clamped down and controlled, not being able to control the account or the assets or the investments. Confiscation, bail-in, right? I mean, confiscation or theft is a strong word. But bail-ins we've seen take place all over the world. And this what you mentioned about the money market funds, these were new laws that changed recently. Like it just went into effect, I think, within the last 2 or 3 weeks. And we've seen, I've seen letters now from different institutions, from PIMCO, from Paychex, and from Vanguard. In fact, I wrote an article about it about a month ago about this slow, quiet bail-in that they're doing on IRAs and 401ks. Initially, I thought they were going to have to dress up. We've had this collapse or this crisis. We need cash. We're going to have a Save America bond, and we're going to sell it to the public. It's a Save America bond, and all IRAs and 401ks are going to have the privilege to invest in this Save America bond. So I thought they were going to sell this thing. They don't even have to sell it, right? They're going to collude, or they're already colluding with all of these IRAs and 401ks are administered by the large banks. Okay, they're all unless you go into a self-directed platform where you're, with a small trustee. But all of these are administered by the large banks. So the criminals in the Fed and Treasury and government are just colluding with these large banks to limit investment options for customers, for IRAs and 401ks. So Money market funds. What is a money market fund? When you call your broker and you say, I want to sell my stocks and bonds, I don't want to own anything right now, I just want to be in cash, that money goes into money market. Okay, they don't have checking accounts at your brokerage, right? They put the cash, when you sell stocks and bonds, it goes into a short term, it's called a money market fund. Well, these new regulations, Elijah, that just passed and are now effective, there's no more money market funds. All short-term money market funds are now federal funds. You can read the letter from Vanguard, you can read the letter from PIMCO, but basically our Mr. Client, our current, because of these new regulations, and to maintain compliance, we're doing away with money market, and now we have this awesome short-term, and they have a great name for it. It's not like short-term treasury fund. It's, the federal fund or something. Vanguard Special Short-Term Federal Fund. And it's 100% short-term treasury bills. So the money market industry of $4.5 trillion, there's a lot of money sitting on the sidelines here, $4 trillion. They just conjured up $4 trillion in short-term treasury demand 2 weeks ago. So that's a perfect example. People are being forced. I think eventually, Elijah, you're going to see overall investment options just change and start to go away. The next letter you're going to see from Merrill Lynch or whoever holds your 401k or IRA is going to be, Mr. Investor, due to whatever regulations or whatever, we're now limiting our investment platform. You can no longer hold individual securities and individual stocks and bonds with your 401k or IRA. You're limited to our 6 mutual funds, this basket of 6 mutual funds. They're all fantastic. Oh, and they all have some large holding of U.S. treasuries. I think that's what's going to happen because they don't have to sell it to the people. It can be quietly just introduced. They don't want to create a ruckus. They don't want people storming the streets with pitchforks. Mind you, we're an armed society too. They don't want that. They don't want to go door to door and confiscate metals. That's insane. I don't think they're even going to announce a Save America bond. I don't think they're going to shut down self-directed IRAs. I think they're going to, because it's a tiny percentage of people doing this, I think they're just going to let it all slowly keep going and quietly try to steal.
So in your opinion, what are some other ways that the IRA LLC that Perpetual Assets offers, how does it protect clients and their assets?
Yeah, good question. One we just mentioned, right, was basically investment control of the investments, the individual being able to drive the investments or control what he or she is in his IRA or LLC or IRA or 401k is investing into. The other layers of protection that exist, I mean, basically we're taking the account and we're wrapping it in state statute. What does that mean? Well, we're taking a limited liability company, which is filed, it exists by state statute. It's not formed and created by federal law. It is formed and created by state law. Pardon me. So what we're doing is we're taking your IRA account and it's going to a self-directed IRA that then is going to invest, just like if your IRA was going to buy stock in IBM or Apple Computer or Chevron Oil or whatever. It's the same premise here, only it's buying 100% of the shares in this newly formed company. Well, this company is formed, created, and its entire legal framework exists under state statute. So you're now protected with state statute. A lot of people do this for the limited liability protection, like if you're going to buy investment real estate with your IRA and you want to own an apartment building with your IRA or a duplex with your IRA, just as an investment, and there's liability there. If somebody breaks an arm or a leg or whatever, they can sue you, they can sue the IRA, they can sue the property. Well, if you envelop it, if the property is owned by a limited liability company, all liability stops right there. So there's a huge benefit right there. But the state statute protection is huge in the event of massive federal just overreaching. Okay, we're already seeing states sort of flex their muscles against the federal government. We're seeing legal tender laws from Texas and Utah and other states for that matter. Not only legal tender, I mean, you're seeing states block the water for NSA facilities. So there's a lot of states are stepping up and saying, no, we're not going with this. And I think it's only going to increase as things get worse. So that's another example where, if the government tries to just create this huge, grab and start stealing everything and changing laws and coming after all assets within IRAs, they're going to have a problem when they hit that LLC because it's formed and filed and created by state statute. And all the assets that are owned by that LLC are protected by that state statute. So that's another sort of layer of protection. The other benefits are really, it's on the surface, it's not an IRA account. It's an LLC account. So there's protection by basically putting this layer in between the IRA and the assets. Now the investment options are almost limitless as far as what people can invest in with this. The IRA LLC framework was created some 20 some odd years ago by an attorney who was for private equity, for the purposes of investing in private equity. For example, you have higher net worth clients have access to private equity where they can gain higher yields. They're typically higher risk, but if you're with the right institution and the right outfit and the right hedges are in place, et cetera, there really can be very, very limited risk with pretty high returns. So, but you can't call Fidelity or 401 or whoever and say, hey, you're stuck with their mutual funds. So we have clients using this for real estate, obviously gold and silver, which can be stored anywhere under their mattress or abroad. The private equity part is pretty big as well. For a lot of clients in that space, they need yield. They need return on their money. They don't need just this pile of gold and silver that's hopefully going to go up a lot in value. So private equity is a big space. But we're seeing basically what you can use this for. I mean, the IRS is specific in what you can't do. Well, I say they're specific. They say your IRA cannot invest in life insurance nor collectibles. Well, collectibles is obviously very vague, but aside from those two items, you can invest in anything imaginable. And the only other item you got to be careful of is self-dealing. Okay, you're a prohibited party, from your IRA, so you can't take the money out and put it in your personal checking account. You can't personally benefit from the account, nor vice versa. So when the IRS looks into a specific case, they're looking for use or benefit. An individual storing gold or silver eagle coins owned by his or her IRA that are buried in a hole in his backyard or under his mattress, not with any other personal assets, but they're in a box labeled property of XYZ LLC buried in a hole in the ground. There's no personal use and there's no personal benefit from the individual storing those coins. So what I'm going into there a little bit is the argument into how this is legitimate. The IRA LLC has been upheld in court half a dozen times structurally. In fact, in 2001, the IRS issued a field advisory statement saying they would no longer challenge the structure of the IRA LLC and that it is sound. We have, there's copies of that field advisory statement out there. So the structure is sound. The act of what you can do with it, there's gray area there. So the attorneys that have dissected all of this, and anyway, we help coach folks through all of that. But as far as what you can invest in, you could, the sky's the limit kind of thing. We've had people do firearms. We've had people do all kinds of stuff. Yeah, you can go anywhere with it. So I hope that answers your question.
As you were saying, it seems like in the future there might be a lot of times where the government kind of secretly tries to take away people's assets if they're basically blips on a computer screen, if they're held in stocks or cash or just electronic assets. But if people have hard assets on their own possession, in your view, then does that mean it's less likely that the government can take them away?
Well, of course. I mean, look, laws can be changed, and I'm not advocating that we break any laws. But what this does is it gives you an option. It gives you the choice. And I tell clients this, and I would say this in a court of law in front of a judge. Look, if the IRS and the government change the income tax to 100% and your firstborn, I'm not going to comply. I'm going to do my darndest to not comply and get myself, my assets, and my firstborn out in safety. Okay. That's an example of a law gone completely tyrannical mad. But if that happens, Elijah, and I have no options, I'm up the creek without a paddle. If I have options, I have the choice to comply or not comply with tyrannical theft, right? So that's all we're doing is we're giving people a ripcord here. In the event that this were to happen, there's lowest hanging fruit. Okay, I've got an article about this as it pertains to government theft. Look, if they can push a button and steal trillions of dollars, that's how they want to do it. They don't want to start a war. Okay, they don't want to start a civil war or have people trying to overthrow their government. They want happy little slaves. So if they change the laws and go for full-on taxation or confiscation or forced treasury investment with all IRA assets, yeah, they're going to go to the trustees and the custodians, the self-directed ones too. And people, it's not that you'll be exempt from the law. No, that's not what I'm saying at all. They will expect for you to comply with the law. But you will have a lot of layers of protection, including your own state's statute, in protecting your assets. So you'll have layers of protection in between you, and you'll have the ultimate ability to say, I lost it. I gambled it away. It was burned down in a fire. Look, if they go and try to confiscate precious metals from people, this is not 1933, okay? When people gave up gold, turned in their gold in 33, they thought it was for the good of the country. They didn't realize they were being conned and lied to until the next day when the government revalued gold 50% higher or whatever the number was. People didn't realize it. Now everybody who owns gold and silver, everyone who's buying this stuff, is doing it to protect themselves, many of them to protect themselves from the government. So the likelihood of them going, seizing gold and silver, going door to door, I think is extremely low. They're going to want to push a button and take the assets. This is why these depositories and these large vaults that hold tons, literally, of metals are very dangerous places. People who have a gold IRA or a silver IRA, a traditional one, where your metal's in a depository, you might as well own treasuries. I mean, those are going to be gone. They're probably already gone. We've heard you've interviewed guys with the multiple claims on these COMEX depositories. I mean, when this shoe drops, you're going to have 10 claims on 1 bar of gold, or 1 ounce, 1 silver eagle somewhere. So, yeah, the message here, Elijah, it's not non-compliance. It's options. It's giving you an option. In case things get really bad, you have the ability to comply or not.
Now, before we let you go, I was just going to ask you about, when we're talking about this wealth confiscation that you see coming, and maybe you'd say some of it has already started, do you think the U.S. presidential election, the outcome of the U.S. presidential election, whether it's Trump that gets in or whether it's Hillary Clinton that gets in and becomes the next president of the United States, do you think that'll have an impact on whether wealth will be confiscated in the future?
Well, honestly, I think I'd have to look deep inside myself and say I don't know, because I don't know Trump. I don't. So I don't know. I would. It seems that the obvious guess would be if Hillary gets elected, we're all screwed. It's more of the same and then some. Probably nuclear war with Russia. So forget about your money. Just get the hell out and survive. I'm sorry to be so extreme, but it's kind of how I feel about this. Trump. I don't know, man. I don't think. Being from the business side. If Trump's going to do anything, I think he's going to, be self-serving and change laws to help business and other things. So probably so. Yes, I would think Trump would be a Trump president would probably be more protective. I mean, look, being from the Republican side, it's one who favors conservatism, conservative values and money, protection of your money. So yeah, I think that's probably a fair assumption to say, look, if Hillary gets in, you could speed up the confiscation efforts, as on all fronts, confiscation of your assets, of your guns, of every last bit of liberty you have. if Hillary gets elected. And if Donald gets elected, I think who the heck knows. But yeah, I think that he would probably represent the American saver's interests better than she would, if that answers your question. But man, isn't this a mess? I mean, I haven't been around that long. I haven't lived through a whole bunch of these elections, but enough of them. This is insane. It's just unbelievable what's happening. And it's only 2 weeks away, so it seems like we've got an interesting 2 weeks ahead of us, my friend. We've already had one massive cyber attack. I'm not saying that had anything to do with the election or not, but if it did, we're only going to have more of the like in the coming days. Interesting times. Only another reason to get your electronic blips out of the IRA system and into, a tangible piece of property or box of silver coins.
All right. Well, Will Lair from Perpetual Assets, thank you so much for joining us today. Before we let you go, did you want to share with the viewers where people can find you and if they're interested in starting an IRA LLC with you, how they can do that, and also any last thoughts you'd like to add?
Yeah, thanks, Elijah. Our website is perpetualassets.com. Our 800 number, 888-281-2630. It's, of course, on the website. And there's a contact us button and info@Perpetual Assets. You can email us. It's up there as well. We Gus and I, we pride ourselves on, you'll only talk to an owner regarding your IRA. So it'll be Gus or I that you would talk to or deal with. If you have questions, we love answering any questions. Call us, email us. Closing thoughts. Strange days indeed. Godspeed to everybody out there. Things are getting real fast, and whether there's good guys or whether this good guy, bad guy comic book hero story is true, and I only pray that it is, so that we all don't get ushered into World War III. That being the premise or the idea that maybe there's good guys behind the scenes in some form of control. But things are getting interesting, you guys. Thanks for having me on, my friend. Thanks for your hard work and all you do. Love the work that you put out, man.
Well, thank you so much, and thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks a lot, Elijah. Take care, bud.